welcome to my new session on economics chit chat. Today we are going to speak about the revival of economy and especially about the stimulus that has been targeted towards the growth. After the month of April, when the government of India came up with a large stimulus package saying that we are going to make India the Atmanirbhar altogether, it was quite surprising for everybody that because India had gone up with such a bold measure of investing over 20 lakh crores to revive the economy altogether. But that was needed because if you start looking from a macroeconomic standpoint, the growth of most of the sectors were completely brought down because of the pandemic, and the government felt that the only way to revive the economy is to start giving a capital push and inflation altogether in terms of the financial package. Now, after this plan that has come out given by the government of India, what we really need to focus, where we need to focus, and how we need to take this ideology altogether. The first thing I would always like to say here is that we need to start looking at some of the core sectors that we are now interested in development altogether. The first one being agriculture, the second one being the supply chain factors, the third being the defense, and the fourth being the infrastructure. These are some of the sectors which the maximum capital allocation needs to go in. Now, what is the reason behind it? If you look at the Atmanirbhar plan or the self-sufficiency ideology altogether, agriculture would be the first priority because going forward, food production needs to be given the top priority and we need to be a country who has enough food grains in hand in case of any emergency. The second one is that what we saw in the COVID-19 altogether is that the connectivity, the communication, the lack of getting the products on time. The moment this pandemic broke out, we were unable to connect with people, we were unable to connect with towns and villages and cities altogether. So what happened here is that the supply chain for most of the companies got completely disturbed. And the most important part of this story was that people were not able to get food on time, people were not able to get the necessities on time. So now the focus needs to be on creating a stronger supply chain, a very integrated and a well-built supply chain which will be able to cater to the needs of the people during any emergency factors altogether. So definitely the focus has to start coming in terms of building logistics and supply chain to the next level as far as possible. The third thing which we were able to see here is that now the defense factor. We are not interested in war. Let me make that point very clear. India is not interested in waging a war, be it against Pakistan or be it against China or any other country for that matter. What India is now interested is that showcase the power of manufacturing in defense. It might be a truck or it might be a tank or it might be a missile or it might be a gun. But what India now really needs to do is that capture the opportunity of manufacturing and start exporting the same across the globe. That would be a big revenue source altogether and India will definitely have an edge in terms of collecting those dollars from abroad. The fourth factor is the infrastructure which I would like to talk about. Infrastructure really needs to be given a big push. Why? Because if you start looking at the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, there has been a great amount of need and push in terms of housing, in terms of roads, in terms of electrification, healthcare, education, and so many other factors. So somewhere down the line, the infrastructure has to be strong to support the rural India and its background. If you are not able to do that, if you are not able to push infrastructure penetrating into the lower parts, into the deeper parts of India, then we are not successful in building an integrated Bharat. We will not be successful in building a better Bharat altogether. So we need to focus infrastructure towards the rural India right now. The other thing that we need to start focusing with this Atmanirbhar plan, the push altogether, is start focusing on employment generation. Because what we have seen as an employment factor is that there has been a great push, a great revival that you start seeing in terms of services sector, in terms of IT data. There are a lot of factors that are coming out after the post-COVID. Now with the reduction in people moving towards the office and people trying to work from home, this would be probably one of the cycles where India needs to concentrate to generate the interest in employment. Most of the people think that going forward working from home will definitely become the norm, no doubt about it. But then the recruitment process will also become something where you get connected only through the online platform. So for the companies, this would be the right time where they can channelize and start understanding where their core strength and skill lies. Because most of the people, if you now start looking, have spent the last 3 or 4 months trying to upskill themselves in some or the other skills. So post-COVID, let's say from October, November, December onwards, you would be probably able to see a whole new economy which has got people filled with a lot of skills and talent. They are ready to implicate those talents back to the job. They're ready to imply those talents. They're ready to see that their talent is being tested. So for the HR, for the human resources standpoint, this would be an opportunity to take fresh roles, fresh people in together and start generating newer ideas and new energy back into the company. So India needs to concentrate highly on the employment sector, which is very, very important. The next area which I would like to talk about is privatization. Though this topic is not very, very favorable in our continent, in our local area, but then when Indian government has taken a bold step to privatize railways by 2023, probably that is one of the first and the most directive step that we have taken towards the progress of the nation. Now with a lot of companies who are interested in taking up the infrastructural support facilities and running of railways, we see that this is the time for India to give away in a big disinvestment cycle and start promoting the next level push of privatization. Now, the moment privatization is talked about, it does not mean that the loss of jobs or you're going to be taken away altogether. It means that you are going to be put under a better performance, a better ranking scale altogether. So for all the private companies trying to take over the PSUs, the public sector undertaking, this would be an opportunity. Why? Because government is also interested to make money by selling those companies and generate some extra revenue for themselves. So for the private companies, this would be the time using the Atmanirbhar push, the Atmanirbhar plan that has been provided, they can able to invest in some of the PSUs, take it over, channelize it and get ready for the 2021 platform so that you can revive the economy at a faster rate. Last but not the least, I also want to touch upon the factor called as the down on expenditure, that is reducing the expenditure on social schemes. Right now, if you start looking, with the pandemic coming over, there have been several factors or several schemes where India is not being able to contribute because we are now in a position of cash crunch. So this is the right time for India to reduce the expenditure on social factors and concentrate on the core sectors for the revival. So India can take some time, take some breather out of those schemes that have been created by the government. We can make them wait for some time, revive the economy back, gain some more revenue, and then we can talk about expenditure. So this is the right time for India to cut down on expenditure, to cut down on the fiscal part altogether and start concentrating on the revenue cycle. With this, I would like to conclude my today's session. I hope and believe that this session was interesting, informative and useful for you. Please do share your comments and do subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for joining me today.